I made a ton of mistakes while learning languages, especially at the beginning. So in this video, as a fellow language enthusiast, I'm going to share 4 language learning mistakes I made along the way because I don't want you to make the same mistakes. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jun and I'm a master's student studying microbiology and liberal arts. And on the side, I like to study languages such as Italian, German, English, Japanese, and Latin. So there are going to be timestamps in the description section and in the pinned comments, so feel free to jump around the video if you feel like it. So there's just one thing that I want to touch on before we jump in. I won't talk about making mistakes or being afraid of making mistakes or speaking in front of other people because I already made a dedicated video over here. So feel free to go check it out. It was definitely one of my biggest language learning mistakes. Okay then, let's just get into it. My first mistake is that I didn't think much about the language learning itself. It goes back to my primary and middle school years, because starting high school years, I took language learning quite seriously. I think it was my sophomore year. I mean, how serious we could be in middle and primary school, like in terms of language learning, right? But I just wish that I would have thought at least a little bit about the fun, significance, and meaning behind the language learning. Like enjoying the foreign culture flowing into me while consuming media or reading books or listening to music in a foreign language. I was of course consuming media back then when I was in primary and middle school. It was probably like Shrek or Harry Potter movie, that kind of stuff. But I didn't put any effort to connect the two dots. Enjoying the foreign culture flowing into me and just thinking about the difference that I was facing. Oh, it works like this in my country and it's working differently in other countries. Stuff like that. So I basically considered language learning as one of the subjects that I had to study for, like history, geography, mathematics, and English, i.e. I generally thought of it as an extra work to do on top of math, history, science. This is probably why I was focusing too much on tests, because I considered it as just one of the subjects that I have to work on at school. Passing a test or getting a certificate or getting a decent score from an exam at school. Whereas now, or back in college, or probably the end of my high school years, I had a pretty clear or diversified goal for language learning. Like I have my cultural goal, I have my professional goal, I have my academic goal for language learning. So I think this kind of led to a poor and ineffective approach for language learning, which was basically rote memorization. As for vocabs, I try to memorize as many vocabs as possible, but not in the most efficient way. I guess one of my main strategies to ace the vocab test back when I was in primary and middle school was to write them down multiple times repetitively. I didn't write them down like 100 times, but it's like 5 to 6 times or maybe like 10 times. But that was very inefficient. And as for grammar, I would study the tables instead of like doing exercises or speaking it out, memorizing the verb conjugation tables and working on regular and irregular verbs and working on like past tense and past participle and working on like declensions, that kind of stuff. So I would do all of those for taking a test, and after I take a test, I would never look back unless I was going to be tested again for those. I think it also took the fun out of it because, doing the language homework and then getting tested and getting my grades back, I think I was even getting stressed out because I didn't get the best grade like based on those pro approaches. So in a way, I was sort of taking myself further away from language learning or the fun for language learning. I think that was a big mistake because as a kid, like when you're in primary and middle school, it's important to have fun. I mean, some of you might say that in that age, who knows how to have fun with those languages or who knows how to study with those languages? Yeah, I get it. It didn't come to me like intuitively, but I think some of the kids definitely think about like the, fun. So they actually have fun and then they motivate themselves to be more exposed to the languages and to use the language in their daily lives as much as possible. I sometimes meet those kids and I couldn't get envier. So in mistake number 3, we're going to delve a little bit more into my poor language learning study techniques, especially on vocabs and grammar, probably reading as well. Overall, I didn't apply the effective learning techniques into my language learning back then, like active recall or spaced repetition. So as for vocabs, I didn't really think about learning vocab itself. I didn't even use a flashcard because I was lazy and then I didn't know the effect of it. So my strategy was basically maybe say it out loud a few times or write them down on a blank sheet of paper multiple times, which was very inefficient. I mean, it kind of worked in tests, but I think the process of memorizing vocabs like that was pretty stressful. It was pretty inefficient, and I think it would have taken much less time if I applied some like effective learning techniques. And most importantly, it took all the fun out of it. For some reason, back when I was a kid, I put a great emphasis on memorizing grammar tables and grammar rules. I'm not trying to argue here that grammar is not important at all in language learning. Despite having suffered a lot from studying grammars back when I was a kid, I would argue that grammar is integral in language learning, especially for academic and professional purposes. Let's say you want to write a paper for college or write a journal article for your professional career or something. If you are well versed in grammar, it makes your life a lot easier. Using a proper grammar in writing is important in communication. In other words, it's gotta make sense to other people, otherwise it's gonna lead to miscommunication, misunderstanding. If you're learning a language for non-academic purposes, for example, let's say you just want the cultural engagement or you just want to consume the foreign media like without subtitles, then probably you could put less emphasis on grammar. Going back to the video topic, I'm just saying that I put too much emphasis on grammar. I didn't balance it out with other language learning skills such as reading, speaking, listening, and writing. Maybe there was a decent emphasis on reading as well, but in the reading, it was pretty much all about like grammar and vocabs. So that was my mistake number 3, which was to put too much emphasis on grammar instead of balancing it out with other language skills like reading, listening, and writing, speaking. By the way, if you're thinking you're getting some value out of this video, I would love it if you could hit the like button. Thank you so much. Last but not least, I want to talk about passively consuming media as my 4th mistake. Meaning that back when I was in middle school, even after taking some language courses for years and primary school, I didn't really think about all the benefits that could be gained from consuming media in foreign languages. I just turned on the subtitle and watched it passively. I didn't even take notes. I didn't even collect phrases. I didn't even try to go back or replay. Sometimes I would think that, oh, if I just apply some learning method here or taking notes or collecting phrases, I would have really gotten the most out of it. Now, while watching those movies and series in a foreign language back then, I didn't really think much about the language perspective. And I didn't even try to think about the differences I'm facing in the media, like the foreign culture. Of course, they're different from where I grew up. That's a pretty passive attitude for consuming those media. I wish I would have paid much more attention to all the dynamics going on in the media. When I just got into middle school, I remembered that my mom was kind of aware of that. Me kind of passively consuming the media and then not putting much effort in connecting the dots, the media and the foreign culture flowing into myself. So she decided to buy me some tools, I'm not really sure how exactly it was called, but it was kind of a package that had pop songs and some video clips, probably some games, so that kids could enjoy learning the language by playing games and then just watching media, that kind of stuff. Maybe it is close to apps these days like Duolingo or other apps that make the language learning pretty fun using media, using TV. Because I wanted to be a good son or a good student, I of course used that media. I don't think I made the best out of it. Sorry mom, but I was spending quite a lot of time on it, but I was just passively doing what I was asked to do, but by the package, the tool that my mom bought me. So in this video, I'm not trying to blame my environment that I grew up in, but rather it is just the general attitude towards learning a language or probably learning in general. Although I wanted to learn effectively and ace the exam at school as every other students want, but I think large part of me wanted the learning to be easy and passive so that I didn't have to put as much effort in learning, maybe spend more time on playing games and spend more time playing soccer or spend more time with my friends outside, running, that kind of stuff. So it was a very great realization for me that learning should be hard and learning should be active instead of being passive, and it should not be easy. So this brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you think you got some value out of this, please click the like button to support this channel and consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed to this channel. I'll be making more videos like this, language learning tips and then my experience and study abroad life, that kind of stuff. So of course, the question of the day is going to be, what are your mistakes you made along the way in language learning? If you feel like it, please leave it down in the comment section below to help each other out. So as I said in the beginning of the video, I intentionally skipped one of my biggest mistakes that I made in language learning, which is to be afraid of speaking in front of other people and afraid of big mistakes. Feel free to click this video over here where I share the common fear and my own fear of speaking other languages in front of other people, and I share steps and tips to conquer those fears or deal with those fears, because conquering is kind of a big word. Thank you so much for watching again, and I hope you will have a lovely week, and I hope to see you on the other side. Bye bye.